Lesson 116 is about compound interest. And interest is just money that gets paid in order to borrow other money. So you might have to pay interest on a credit card at some point, or you might get paid interest if you give your money to a bank, and they'll give you interest to let it be in there. Now, Samantha deposited $2,000 in an account that pays 10% interest compounded annually. If she does not withdraw any money from the account, how much money will be in the account after A, 1 year, B, 2 years, and C, 3 years? Now this is definitely a question, so we should add a question mark at the end. This does have more than one sentence, so you don't have to write this in your notes if you don't want to. Now, annually is a key word that we need here. Annually, that means one time per year. So if you saw the word annually, it means one time. If you saw semi-annually, that would mean 2 times per year. If you saw quarterly, that would mean 4 times per year. So you can take the word and transfer its meaning to help you solve the problem. Now in this case, Samantha deposited $2,000. And she gets paid 10% interest, compounded 1 time per year, annually. If she doesn't draw any money from the account, so if she doesn't take any out, how much will be in the account after 1 year? So for problem A, we've got to find out what 10% of 2,000 is. So in order to do that, we're going to multiply 2,000 times, well 10%, that's 10 hundredths, which is the same as 0.1, or 1/10, and we can find our answer. Well, 1 times 0 3 times is 0 3 times, and then 1 times 2 is 2. And we need to move our decimal point over 1 spot, so we bring it back in 1 spot. So the amount of interest that she makes in the first year is $200. So the amount that she'll have in her account, well, she's earned $200 in interest plus the 2,000 she started with. So 2,000 plus 200, that must be equal to 2,200. So that will be how much is in her account after the first year. Now, to find out how much is in her account after 2 years, well, we've got to do the same thing again. But instead of starting with what she originally put into the account, we're going to start with what she had after the first year, because now we're looking to see what happens after the second year. So we're going to get 2,200 times still 10% interest, compounded annually. So that's 0.1. 1 times 0 twice is 0 twice. And 1 times 2 twice is 2 twice. Our decimal moves over 1, so it comes back in 1 to balance everything out. So we get 220. That must be the amount she earned in interest in the second year. So, to find our answer for how much she had at the end of 2 years, we'd say at the beginning she had 2,200. Then she added 220 more onto that. So she must have a grand total of $2,420 in her account now. Now we're almost done with this problem because question C says, how much will she have in her account after 3 years? So, at the beginning of the third year, she starts with $2,420. She gets paid 10% interest, so that's 0.1. 1 times 0 is 0, and 1 times 2, 4, and 2, well that must be 2, 4, and 2. Decimal moves out 1, we bring it back in 1, so in that third year she earned $242 in interest, and we add it on to the 2,420 she originally had it, and we get our final answer. We're going to get 2,662. And that's how much she's going to earn at the end of the third year. Let's look at our next problem. Kayla deposited $300 in an account that pays 7% interest compounded annually. How much money will be in her account after 2 years? Well, to figure how much is going to be there after 2 years, we first need to know how much will be there at the end of the first year. So we're going to say 300, and 7%, That's the same as 7 hundredths, which is the same as 0.07. So we're going to multiply 300 times 0.07. 7 times 0 twice is 0 twice. And 7 times 3 is 21. Decimal moves out twice, so decimal moves in twice. She's earned $21 at the end of her first year. So 300 was what she started with, plus that $21 must equal $321. Now that's not our answer, because the question said after 2 years. So at the beginning of the second year, she starts with $321. She gets paid 7% interest, so 0.07. 7 times 1, that's 7. 7 times 2 is 14, and we'll carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 more gives us 22. Decimal moves out twice, decimal moves back in twice. So at the end of the second year, well, she started that second year with $321 and no cents, and she earned $22.47, so her grand total must be $343.47. Got to put our label on there, and we found our answer. It's important that we read these questions to find out after how many years we have to report our answer. Our lesson practice will be on page 628. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.